I swear I wasn't doing anything wrong that night. But the way it all unfolded, you'd think I was. It started like one of those nights where your own apartment feels too quiet to breathe in. You know that feeling? Like the walls are just a little too close, your thoughts too loud, and no amount of scrolling or music can drown them out. So I grabbed my keys, didn't even think twice, and headed out. No destination, just driving. The city looked different at night, almost softer. Streetlights stretched across the pavement, reflections sliding over the hood of my car like liquid gold. I rolled the window down, letting the cold air hit my face, hoping it would clear my head. It didn't. Work had been a mess all week, my boss riding me over deadlines that weren't even mine. I hadn't slept properly in days, and everything just felt off, like something was building, but I didn't know what. So yeah, I drove. I turned onto this quieter road I'd taken 100 times before. Hardly any traffic, just trees lining both sides and the occasional flicker of a street lamp. It was the kind of place you go when you want to disappear for a bit. That's when I saw the lights, red and blue, flashing behind me. My stomach dropped instantly. I checked my speed normal. I hadn't run anything, hadn't done anything stupid. But still, my hands tightened on the wheel as I slowly pulled over to the side. And I don't know why, but something in my chest told me this wasn't going to be a normal stop. I turned the music down, heart already picking up speed, and watched in the mirror as the patrol car rolled up behind me. The door opened, and he stepped out. Tall, broad shoulders, that kind of posture you don't question. Even from a distance, I could tell he carried himself differently, like everything he did was controlled, deliberate. The streetlight caught his badge for a second, and I remember thinking how unreal it all looked. Like a scene from a movie, except I was in it. He walked up to my window, and I rolled it down, trying to keep my face neutral. Evening. License and registration. His voice was low, calm, no emotion, just authority. Yeah, of course, I said, probably a little too fast. My fingers fumbled slightly as I reached for my wallet. I don't even know why I was nervous. I hadn't done anything, but there was something about him. The way he looked at me, like he was already trying to figure me out, like he knew something I didn't. I handed him my ID, and for a second, our fingers almost brushed. He glanced at it, then back at me. And there it was again, that look. Focused, sharp, lingering just a second longer than it should. Step out of the vehicle. My chest tightened. Is there a problem? Step out of the car. Same tone. No room for argument. So I did. The night air hit colder outside, but it didn't help the tension building in my body. I closed the door slowly, turning to face him, trying to read anything from his expression. Nothing. Turn around. Hands on the car. I hesitated for maybe half a second, but something about him made that feel like too long already. So I turned, placing my palms against the hood. My heartbeat was loud. Way too loud. This is just a routine search, he said, stepping closer. Routine. Right. His hand started at my shoulders. Firm. Controlled. Moving down my arms, slow, methodical. And I don't know how to explain it, but I became hyper-aware of every single place he touched. Like my body was suddenly on high alert. His hands moved lower my back, my sides pausing just enough to feel intentional. Not rushed, not careless. Intentional. My breath caught slightly when his hands slid down to my waist, then lower. There was a moment, just a second, where everything felt like it stopped. His hand lingered. Too long. Long enough that I knew it wasn't just part of the routine. My body tensed without me meaning it to. But I didn't move. Didn't say anything. And neither did he. That silence between us. It wasn't empty. It was charged. Like we both felt it. Then just as suddenly, he stepped back. You're clear. His voice had changed. Still controlled, but lower. Rougher, almost. I turned around slowly, my chest tight, trying to understand what the hell had just happened. And that's when I finally saw his eyes clearly. Dark. Focused. And something else. Something he was trying very hard to hide. I swallowed, forcing myself to speak. That didn't feel very routine. For a split second, just a flicker, his expression cracked. Then it was gone. I'm doing my job. But even he didn't sound fully convinced. I let out a quiet breath, shaking my head slightly. Your job includes that. Silence. He looked at me again, jaw tightening. You should go home. That should have been the end of it. Seriously, I should have just gotten back in my car and left. But something kept me there. Something stupid. Or maybe something honest. Why'd you stop me? I asked. His gaze sharpened. You shouldn't be out here alone this late. That wasn't an answer. and we both knew it. I took a small step closer before I could stop myself. I think you already knew I wasn't a threat. His fingers flexed slightly at his sides. Barely noticeable, but I saw it. And I continued, quieter now. You stopped me for a different reason. The air between us shifted again. He looked away for a second this time. Just a second. Then back at me. You should go, he said again. But it didn't sound like an order anymore. It sounded like a warning. And for some reason, I didn't move. Not yet. Because something told me this night wasn't even close to over. And I had a feeling his name Hunter was about to matter a lot more than I expected. I don't know what came over me, but I didn't get back in the car. I just stood there, a few feet away from him, like I was waiting for something I couldn't even name. The silence stretched. The road was empty, no cars, no people, just us, the hum of a distant streetlight, and that tension still hanging in the air like it hadn't decided what it wanted to be yet. Hunter shifted his weight slightly, his hand brushing against his belt, like he was grounding himself. You're still here, he said. It wasn't a question. I let out a quiet breath, forcing a small shrug. So are you. That earned me a look. Not the cold, unreadable one from before, but something sharper. More personal. For a second, I thought he was going to shut it down. Tell me to leave again. Maybe even escalate things back into that strict, untouchable authority. But he didn't. Instead, he exhaled slowly, like he was making a decision he wasn't entirely comfortable with. You like pushing things, don't you? He said. His voice had changed again. Less official, more real. I tilted my head slightly. Depends. Am I pushing? His jaw tightened. You know you are. Another step closer. I didn't even realize I'd moved until I was already there, close enough now that I could see the small details. The tension in his neck. The way his eyes flicked down for just a second before locking back onto mine. That flicker didn't go unnoticed. Then why haven't you told me to stop? I asked quietly. That hit something. I saw it. Clear as day. His composure cracked, not completely, but enough. You don't understand what you're doing, he muttered. Then explain it to me. That was probably the moment everything tipped. Because instead of stepping back, he stepped closer. Now there was barely any space between us. You think this is a game? He said, voice low. No, I answered honestly. And I meant it. Because whatever this was, it didn't feel like a game anymore. It felt like something building way too fast. Something neither of us had planned. His eyes searched mine, like he was looking for a reason to shut it down. Or maybe a reason not to. You should have just left, he said. Yeah, I agreed softly. I probably should have. But neither of us moved. The air felt heavier now. Warmer, even in the cold night. And then, his hand moved. Slow. Deliberate. Not like before. This time, it wasn't part of anything official. No excuse. No routine. It was just him. His fingers brushed my arm first. Light. Almost hesitant, like he was testing if I'd pull away. I didn't. If anything, I leaned into it, just barely. That was all it took. His grip tightened slightly, sliding from my arm to my wrist, pulling me just a fraction closer. My breath hitched. Not loud, but enough that he noticed. Still think this is a good idea? He asked. I swallowed. No. A pause. Then why are you still here? I met his eyes again. Because you are. That did it. Something in him snapped, or maybe gave in. Because the next thing I knew, his hand moved from my wrist to my waist, pulling me in properly this time. No hesitation. No pretending. My heart slammed against my chest. And for a second, neither of us moved. We just stood there, close enough to feel each other breathing. Close enough that it felt dangerous. You have no idea what kind of trouble this could be, he said quietly. I nodded. I think I do. Another pause. Longer this time. Then his hand tightened slightly against my side. And I swear, I felt it everywhere. You should get in your car, he said again. But his grip didn't loosen. Didn't even try to. I let out a shaky breath. You keep saying that. Because you should. Then make me. The words slipped out before I could stop them. And the second they did, I saw it. That look in his eyes. Dark. Sharp. Dangerous in a way that made my chest tighten. You really don't know when to stop, do you? He muttered. I shook my head slightly. No. That was all the permission he needed. Because this time, when he moved, it wasn't slow. His hand slid from my waist to the back of my neck. Firm, controlled, pulling me just enough that there was no space left between us. My breath caught hard, and for a split second, I thought he was going to kiss me. But he didn't. Not yet. Instead, he leaned in just enough that I could feel his breath against my ear. "You're making this very hard for me," he said, voice low. And the way he said it, it wasn't just about control anymore. I turned my head slightly, just enough that if either of us moved even an inch, that would be it. "I don't think I'm the only one," I whispered. That silence again. Heavy. Loaded. One move away from crossing a line neither of us could uncross. And this time, I didn't know who was going to make it first. I don't know who moved first. Maybe it was both of us. One second we were just standing there, caught in that impossible moment, and the next, something shifted. Not explosive, not sudden, just inevitable. Hunter didn't pull me closer this time. He let go, but somehow, that felt even heavier. Like he was choosing control over impulse, and that choice cost him something. He took a step back, running a hand over the back of his neck, exhaling sharply like he was trying to reset the entire situation. "This," he started, then stopped. I watched him, my chest still tight, heart refusing to slow down. "This can't happen," he finished. But it didn't sound convincing. Not to me. Probably not to him either. I crossed my arms, not to close myself off, but to steady myself. "Then why does it feel like it already did?" I asked quietly. That made him look at me again. Really look. Not like an officer sizing someone up. Like a man trying to figure out something he didn't expect. "You don't even know me," he said. "Hunter," I replied, letting his name sit there between us. That hit. I saw it in the way his jaw tightened again. "You weren't supposed to hear that. And you weren't supposed to touch me like that." I shot back. Silence. Again. But this one was different. Less sharp. More honest. He let out a breath, slower this time. "You should go," he said. But now it sounded tired. Not like an order. Like he was trying to convince himself. I took a step toward my car, then stopped. I didn't turn back right away. Didn't trust myself to. "You always this careful?" I asked. Behind me, I heard him shift slightly. "Yeah," he said. A pause. "Until I'm not." That made me turn. He was watching me again, but now there was no pretending. No mask. No distance. Just him. And whatever this was. "You stopped me for a reason," I said. It wasn't a question anymore. His gaze dropped for a second, then back up. "I thought you looked familiar." That wasn't what I expected. "What?" "I've seen you before," he continued. "Couple weeks ago. Coffee place on 5th. My brain scrambled for a second, then clicked. "Wait, you were there?" "The guy by the window." He gave a small nod. "I wasn't in uniform." "No," I said slowly. "You definitely weren't." And suddenly, everything felt different. This wasn't random. Not completely. "You could have just said hi," I added. His expression shifted, almost like a faint, ironic smile wanted to show up, but didn't fully make it. "Not exactly how it works." "So you pulled me over instead?" "That wasn't planned." "But you didn't seem surprised," I pointed out. Another pause. "Then, I wasn't." The honesty of that landed harder than anything else so far. We just stood there again, the tension changing shape. Less about the moment. More about what it meant. "What now?" I asked. That question hung there longer than anything else had. Hunter looked down the empty road, then back at me. "This ends here," he said. But he didn't move. Didn't walk away. Didn't break the moment. "And if it doesn't?" I pushed. His eyes narrowed slightly, not in anger. In conflict. Then he reached into his pocket, pulled something out, and stepped closer just enough to hand it to me. Not touching this time, but close. I looked down. A small piece of paper. A number. No name. I looked back up at him. "That's not very by the book," I said. "No," he agreed. A beat. Neither was tonight. The air shifted again, but softer now. Quieter. Real. I folded the paper slowly, slipping it into my pocket. "You gonna pull me over again if I call?" I asked. That almost got a smile. Almost. "Depends," he said. "On what?" He held my gaze. "On whether you actually leave this time." I exhaled, shaking my head slightly. "Yeah, okay." This time, I did walk to my car. Opened the door. Sat down. But before I closed it, I looked back one last time. He was still there. Watching. And something told me. This wasn't over. Not even close. I didn't call him. Not that night. Not the next day either. But that number? It stayed in my pocket like it weighed more than it should. Like it was pulling at me every time I tried to ignore it. I kept replaying everything in my head. The stop. The way he looked at me. That moment right before everything almost crossed a line. And the worst part? I knew it wasn't just in my head. He felt it too. That made it harder to walk away from. 2 days passed. Then 3. By the 4th, I was standing in my kitchen, staring at my phone like an idiot, thumb hovering over the screen. This is stupid, I muttered to myself. It was. Completely. Calling a cop I met during a traffic stop? A cop who clearly knew exactly how risky that whole situation was? Yeah, not my smartest idea. And yet, I dialed. The ring felt louder than it should have. Once. Twice. Then. Yeah. No greeting. No hesitation. Just that same voice. Low. Familiar. My chest tightened instantly. Hunter. A small pause. Anthony. The way he said my name. Like he'd been expecting this. You saved my number? I asked, trying to sound more casual than I felt. I remember things I shouldn't, he replied. That did something to me. I leaned back against the counter, exhaling slowly. Good to know. Silence settled between us, but not awkward. Just charged again. Different from that night, but still there. So, I said, you always answer unknown numbers like that? Only when I know who's calling. I huffed a quiet laugh. Confident. Careful, he corrected. Right. That again. You're not very good at staying away, are you? He added. I hesitated. Then, no. Another pause. Longer this time. Then I heard him shift slightly, like he was moving somewhere quieter. Where are you? He asked. At home. You alone? That question landed heavier than it should have. Yeah. A beat. You? Yeah. Something about that changed the tone of the call completely. Like the distance between us suddenly mattered more. Why'd you really call? He asked. Straight to it. No games. I looked down at the floor, even though he couldn't see me. I kept thinking about that night. Honest. Too honest, maybe. But I didn't take it back. On the other end, he was quiet for a second. Then, yeah, just that. But it carried weight. You? I asked. A short breath. More than I should have. My grip tightened slightly around the phone. Then why didn't you call me? You think that would have been a good idea? No. Exactly. Fair. But still. Doesn't mean you didn't want to, I said. That was pushing it again. I knew it. He knew it. But instead of shutting it down. You're right, he said. My chest tightened. Damn. That honesty again. Dangerous. So what now? I asked quietly. There it was again. That same question. Different moment. Same weight. Hunter didn't answer right away. I could hear something faint in the background, maybe him pacing. Maybe just breathing heavier than before. Finally. That depends on you. On me. You gonna keep pushing this? I exhaled slowly. You gonna keep pretending you don't want me to? Silence. But this time, it wasn't hesitation. It was tension building. Anthony, he said, lower now. Yeah, that tone. That same one from the road. The one that made everything feel closer than it was. You're making this complicated. It already is. Another step closer to the edge. Even through a phone call, I could feel it. So what are you saying? He asked. I swallowed. Then said it. I think we should meet. There. Out. No taking it back. On the other end. Nothing. For a few seconds, I thought maybe I pushed too far. Maybe this was where he shut it down for real. But then, you don't make things easy, do you? No, I admitted. A quiet exhale. Then, tomorrow. My heart jumped. What? Tomorrow night, he said. Same area. That road. Of course. Hunter. If you come, he cut in, voice firm again. You're choosing this. I frowned slightly. I know. No, he said. You don't. The way he said it made my stomach tighten. Because this time, it didn't sound like a warning. It sounded like a promise. Think about it, he added. Before you decide. I let out a slow breath. I already did. Another pause. Then, yeah, he murmured. And for a second, I could almost hear the conflict in him again. You should get some sleep, he said. You too. Neither of us hung up immediately. Just stayed there, listening. Like neither of us wanted to be the one to end it. Then finally, Anthony. Yeah. A beat. Don't show up if you're not ready. The line went quiet. Call ended. I stared at my phone for a long time after that. Because something told me. Tomorrow wasn't just another meeting. It was a line. And once I crossed it, there was no going back. I almost didn't go. Seriously. I spent the entire next day trying to convince myself it was a bad idea. Work was a blur, my brain running on autopilot while everything else stayed stuck on one thing. Hunter. That road. That warning. Don't show up if you're not ready. Yeah, that line didn't help. If anything, it made it worse. By the time night hit, I was pacing my apartment like an idiot, keys in hand, putting them down, picking them back up again. This is reckless, I muttered. It was. But around 11:30, I was already in my car. Driving. Same route. Same quiet streets. Same feeling creeping back in. And when I turned onto that road, my chest tightened. Because he was already there. Parked on the side. Lights off. Just waiting. For me. I slowed down, pulling in a few meters behind him. For a second, I just sat there, hands gripping the wheel, staring at his car like if I stayed long enough, I could undo the fact that I came. Too late for that. I killed the engine. Silence. Then I stepped out. The night felt colder than last time. Or maybe that was just me. His door opened. Hunter stepped out slowly, closing it behind him with that same controlled energy. No rush. No hesitation. But this time, no badge shining. No official tone. Just him. And somehow, that made it worse. We stood there again, a few feet apart. Déjà vu. But heavier. You came, he said. I nodded slightly. So did you. A small pause. I told you to think about it. I did. And I let out a breath. Still here. That earned me a look. Longer this time. Like he was checking if I really meant it. Then he nodded once. All right. That word didn't sound casual. It sounded like a door opening. Or closing. I couldn't tell which. You understand this doesn't stay simple, he added. I gave a quiet, almost dry laugh. It was never simple. No, he agreed. But this, he gestured slightly between us. This is different. I stepped closer. Not all the way, but enough. I know. He watched me carefully. You say that like you're sure. I'm not, I admitted. But I'm here anyway. That honesty hit again. I saw it in his expression. That same internal fight. Control versus something else. Something stronger. You always do this, he asked. Do what? Walk straight into things you know might mess you up. I shrugged lightly. Only when they feel worth it. Silence. That answer landed. Hard. Hunter looked away for a second, jaw tight, then back at me. You don't make this easy. You keep saying that. Because it's true. Another step. Now we were close again. Not touching, but close enough that it felt like we already were. What happens if I say we stop right here? He asked. I held his gaze. Then we stop. A beat. And if I don't? My pulse kicked up. Then we don't. That was it. That was the moment. No more excuses. No more pretending this was accidental. His hand moved again, but slower this time. More certain. He reached up, fingers brushing lightly against my jaw, like he was giving me one last chance to pull away. I didn't even think about it. His thumb shifted slightly, tilting my head just enough. And then he stopped. Right there. Breath close. Too close. Last chance, he said quietly. My heart was going insane at this point. Hunter. Yeah. Stop asking questions you already know the answer to. That did it. I saw it. Felt it. That final break in control. Because this time, he didn't hesitate. The space between us disappeared. And everything that had been building since that first night finally crossed the line. I don't know how long we stayed like that. Time got weird. Blurry. All I knew was that nothing about this felt casual anymore. Nothing about it felt like a mistake either. When we finally pulled back, my breathing was uneven. His wasn't much better. He rested his forehead briefly against mine, like he was grounding himself again. This is exactly what I was trying to avoid, he muttered. I let out a quiet breath. Yeah. A small pause. Worth it? I asked. He didn't answer right away, but the way his hand tightened slightly at my side, that was answer enough. Yeah, he said finally. And something told me. This wasn't just a moment anymore. This was the beginning of something neither of us knew how to handle. But neither of us were walking away from. We didn't move right away. For a few seconds, we just stood there, too close, breathing the same cold night air like it had suddenly become something else entirely. Different. Heavier. Real. Hunter was the first to pull back, but not far. Just enough to look at me properly. And yeah, everything had changed. There was no pretending now. No routine stop. No excuses. Just us. You realize we can't go back to how it was, he said quietly. I let out a small breath. When was it ever normal? That got a faint reaction, almost a smile, but not quite. Fair, he admitted. But then his expression shifted again, more serious. This doesn't stay here, he added. That's the problem. I frowned slightly. You mean because of your job? That's part of it. And the other part? He hesitated. Just for a second. Then, you. That caught me off guard. Me? You don't hesitate, he said. You push. You don't back off when you should. I crossed my arms slightly, not defensive, just thinking. And that's a bad thing? It can be. I held his gaze. Or it can be the reason something actually happens. Silence. That hit. Again. He looked away briefly, exhaling like he was trying to slow everything down, but it was already too late for that. This is exactly what I meant, he muttered. What? You make it hard to walk away. I stepped a little closer again, not touching but close enough that the distance felt intentional. Then don't, I said. Simple. Maybe too simple, but honest. Hunter looked at me again, and this time there was no hiding it, no mask, no control, fully intact. Just conflict. And something stronger underneath it. You don't know what you're asking for, he said. Then tell me. Another pause. Longer. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he glanced down the road, like he was checking the world around us, making sure it was still empty. Still just ours. Then back at me. This doesn't stay casual, he said finally. I let out a quiet breath. Good. That surprised him. I could see it. You want complicated? He asked. I want real. That landed harder than anything else I'd said so far. For a second, neither of us spoke. Because that word real changed the entire direction of this. This wasn't just tension anymore. It wasn't just curiosity. It was turning into something else. Something with weight. You always this honest? He asked. Only when it matters. He studied me like he was trying to decide if that was a risk or something worse. Then, you're not what I expected, he admitted. I raised an eyebrow slightly. You didn't expect me to call? I didn't expect you to come back. I smiled faintly. Yeah, I got that. A small pause. But you're here too, I added. He exhaled. Yeah. That, yeah, carried a lot. More than he probably wanted it to. So what now? I asked again. Third time. Same question. But now? It meant something different. Hunter looked at me for a long moment. Then stepped back slightly, not distancing himself emotionally. Just creating space to think. We take this slow, he said. I blinked. That's your plan. That's the only way this doesn't crash immediately. I considered that. He wasn't wrong. Annoying but not wrong. And what does slow mean to you? I asked. He glanced at me, a hint of something almost teasing flickering there for the first time. It means you don't push me into something I can't control. I smirked slightly. No promises. That got an actual reaction, a short breath that almost turned into a laugh. Almost. Yeah, he said. That's exactly what I'm worried about. Another quiet moment settled between us. But this time, it wasn't tense. Not in the same way. It felt steady, like something had shifted from uncertainty into something more grounded. Not safe, but clearer. I should go, he said after a while. I nodded. Yeah. Neither of us moved right away. Again, that pattern was becoming a thing. Then, I'll call you, he added. Not a question. Not a maybe. A decision. I raised an eyebrow. Look at that. Breaking your own rules. He met my gaze. You started it. Not denying that. A small pause. Then he turned, heading back toward his car. But just before he opened the door, he stopped and looked back at me. Anthony. Yeah. Next time, we don't meet here. I tilted my head slightly. Where then? A beat. Then, somewhere that doesn't feel like a mistake. And with that, he got in his car. Engine started. Lights on. And just like that, he was gone. I stood there for a moment longer, alone again on that same empty road. But it didn't feel the same anymore. Because now, this wasn't just something that happened. This was something that was starting. The next time I saw him, it wasn't on that road. And somehow, that made it feel even more real. It had been 3 days since that night. 3 days of short texts. Nothing too obvious, just enough to keep that connection there without saying too much. Hunter wasn't the type to flood your phone. Every message felt intentional, controlled, but there was always something under it. Something that made me read it twice. That evening, his message was simple. 8 p.m. I'll send you the address. No emojis. No extra words. Just that. And for some reason, it made my chest tighten more than anything else he'd sent. At 7:42, the address came through. Not some random spot. Not hidden. A quiet bar on the edge of the city. Public. Normal. Which, somehow, made this feel even less like a mistake. I got there first. Didn't mean to, but I did. The place was dim, low music, not too crowded. The kind of bar where nobody really pays attention to anyone else. I picked a spot near the back, sat down, and tried to act like I wasn't watching the door every 5 seconds. Didn't work. At exactly 8:03, he walked in. And yeah, it hit differently seeing him like that. No uniform. No badge. Just Hunter. Dark jeans, fitted black shirt, sleeves pushed up just enough to show his forearms. Casual, but still carrying that same presence. like the room shifted slightly when he stepped into it. His eyes found me almost immediately. Of course they did. And for a second, neither of us moved. Then he walked over. Calm. Controlled. But I could see it, that same tension underneath. "You're early," he said, stopping in front of me. "You're late," I replied. That almost got a smile. Almost. He slid into the seat across from me, leaning back slightly, but his eyes stayed locked on mine. Different setting. Same energy. "Feels weird seeing you like this," I said. "Like what?" "Off duty." A small pause. "Feels weird being here with you," he admitted. Honest again. I nodded slightly. "Yeah, same." A waitress came by, breaking the moment just enough for us to order something simple. Neither of us really cared about the drinks. We both knew that. "So," I said once she left, "this is your version of not a mistake." Hunter glanced around briefly. "Neutral ground," he said. "No uniforms. No empty roads. And that makes it better?" "It makes it clearer." I leaned forward slightly. "Clearer how?" His gaze sharpened just a bit. "That if we're here, it's because we chose it." That landed. Hard. No excuses now. No blurred lines. Just a choice. "I like that," I said quietly. A small pause. "Then, you would." I smirked slightly. "You say that like it's a bad thing." "It's not," he said. And this time, he didn't hesitate. That caught me. Because for the first time since this started, he wasn't holding back as much. The drinks came, but neither of us touched them right away. The conversation didn't stay surface level. It couldn't. Not after everything. We talked about normal things at first: work, schedules, random details, but it didn't take long before it shifted again. Back to us. Back to this. "You always this direct?" he asked at one point. "Only when someone's trying to avoid being honest," I replied. He exhaled, shaking his head slightly. "You don't miss much." "Nope." "A beat." "Good," he said. That surprised me. "Good. I don't want to pretend with you." That changed things. Subtly, but completely. I leaned back slightly, studying him. "Then don't." Another pause. But this one, it felt different. Less like tension, more like something settling into place. Hunter reached for his drink, finally taking a sip, but his eyes didn't leave mine. "You realize this doesn't get easier from here," he said. I smiled faintly. "I'm starting to think I don't want it to." That got him. I saw it. Clear. And this time, he didn't hide it at all. "Yeah," he said quietly. "Me neither." And that was the moment I knew. This wasn't just something intense anymore. It wasn't just chemistry. It wasn't just a risk. This was turning into something real. Something steady. Something neither of us were walking away from. Not now. Not anymore. And honestly, that scared me a little. But not enough to stop. I didn't expect it to feel normal. That was the strangest part. After everything, the tension, the risk, the way it all started, sitting there with Hunter didn't feel chaotic anymore. It felt steady, grounded. And somehow, that was more dangerous than anything else. Because intensity fades. But something real? That stays. We ended up staying longer than either of us planned. The drinks barely touched, conversation drifting from light to personal without either of us forcing it. At some point, the bar got quieter. Or maybe I just stopped noticing everything else. "You're different here," I said, watching him. Hunter raised an eyebrow slightly. "Yeah. Yeah. Less guarded." He leaned back in his chair, considering that. "Don't get used to it." I smiled. "Too late." That got a small shake of his head, but there was no resistance behind it. Just acceptance. After a while, he checked the time, then looked back at me. "We should go." It wasn't abrupt. Just a shift. I nodded. "Yeah." We stood up at the same time, and for a brief second, we were closer than expected, shoulders brushing lightly. That small contact still did something. Some things hadn't changed. We stepped outside, the cool night air hitting us again, but this time, it didn't feel tense. Just quiet. His car was parked a little down the street. Mine was in the opposite direction. We stopped halfway between. And there it was again. That pause. Like neither of us wanted to be the first to end it. "This was a good call," I said. He nodded once. "Yeah, it was." A beat. Then I added, quieter. "Not a mistake." His eyes met mine. And this time, no hesitation. "No," he said. "It wasn't." Silence settled again. But not heavy. Not uncertain. Just full. "You heading home?" he asked. "Eventually." That got the faintest hint of a smirk. "Of course you are." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means," he said, stepping a little closer, "you don't do simple endings." I tilted my head slightly. "And you do?" A pause. Then, I'm trying to. I smiled faintly. Yeah, I noticed. Another step closer. Not rushed. Not impulsive. Just natural. We said we'd take it slow, he added. We are. This is your version of slow? I shrugged lightly. You're still here, aren't you? That did it again. That look. The one that said he knew exactly what I was doing. And wasn't stopping it. Yeah, he said quietly. I am. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then, I'll call you, he said again. Same as before. But this time, it didn't feel uncertain. It felt like something solid. I know, I replied. And I did. That was the difference now. No guessing. No chasing. Just knowing. He studied me for a second longer, like he wanted to say something else. Something more. But instead, get home safe, he said. I smiled. You too, officer. That got an actual reaction, this time a quiet breath that almost turned into a laugh. Don't start. Can't help it. He shook his head, but there was no edge to it. Then he turned, heading toward his car. I watched him go. Didn't rush it. Didn't look away. And right before he got in, he glanced back. Just once. Enough. Then he was gone. I stood there for a second longer, hands in my pockets, letting everything settle. That first night. That was chaos. Unexpected. Dangerous. But this felt like something else entirely. Something slower. Deeper. Real. And for the first time since all of this started, I wasn't wondering what this was anymore. I knew. And yeah, that was a little terrifying. But mostly, it felt right.